Today, I want to talk about something that can transform the way we walk through life, the knowledge that God is with us every step of the way. Life often feels uncertain. There are days when the road seems unclear, when challenges feel too big to overcome, and when we feel alone in our struggles. Yet, there's a promise that can bring peace and strength. God is with you. No matter where you are on your journey, whether it's a moment of joy or a season of hardship, He is walking beside you. Imagine that you're never alone, that you have a constant companion who knows your heart, cares for you deeply, and understands every fear, joy, and hope you carry. That's what God promises us. In every victory and every setback, He's right there, offering guidance, comfort, and encouragement. The presence of God doesn't mean we won't face difficulties, but it does mean that we won't face them alone. And that assurance changes everything. With God by our side, we can step forward with courage, find hope in dark times, and trust that every step, no matter how small or challenging, has purpose. God's presence is a constant, unwavering force in our lives, a promise that brings us profound peace and confidence. Imagine for a moment that you are never truly alone, no matter where you go or what you face. In times of joy, He rejoices with us. In moments of sadness or despair, He is there offering comfort. This promise of God's enduring presence is not based on anything we do or achieve, rather. It is a gift that reflects the depth of His love and commitment to us. There may be times when we feel distant from God or when life's challenges make us question if He is still there. But in those moments, it's important to remember that His presence does not depend on our feelings or circumstances. God's closeness is not something that wavers with the tides of life. Instead, it is like the sun, always shining, even if sometimes it's obscured by clouds. His promise to never leave or forsake us is a reminder that no matter how uncertain life becomes, He remains our constant companion. This promise is not just a comforting idea, it is an anchor for our souls, especially when we navigate difficult times. Knowing that God is with us can calm fears, provide strength, and bring clarity in confusing moments. When we feel overwhelmed or incapable, the knowledge of His presence can shift our perspective. It assures us that we do not have to face life's challenges on our own, that we are not walking through this journey unaided. In every step we take, whether big or small, God is there. In moments of triumph, He celebrates with us. In times of sorrow, He consoles us. And when we don't know which way to turn, He gently guides us. Holding on to this truth can transform our daily lives. It gives us courage to face what comes our way and the confidence to know that we are cherished, watched over, and deeply understood. In life, we all face moments of uncertainty, times when we find ourselves unsure of which path to take or what decision is the right one. During these times, it's easy to feel lost or overwhelmed, as if we're navigating a thick fog without any clear direction. But one of the beautiful promises of God is that He is there to guide us through these moments, offering us wisdom, insight, and clarity when we need it most. God's guidance doesn't always come in a loud or obvious way. Often it's a quiet nudge, a gentle reminder, or an unexpected insight that leads us in the right direction. Imagine standing at a crossroads, uncertain and perhaps even fearful of making a mistake. God understands these fears, and He wants to help us find our way. Through prayer, reflection, and a willingness to trust in His plan, we can begin to sense His leading. God's guidance often comes when we quiet our minds and listen not only to our own hearts, but also to the subtle ways He communicates. Sometimes it's through a feeling of peace when we consider one option, or maybe through the wise counsel of a friend, a passage in Scripture, or an inner conviction that feels right and true. When we allow God to guide us, we're not only aligning ourselves with His wisdom, but we're also relieving ourselves of the weight of having to figure everything out on our own. Life's decisions can be complex, and we may not always see the full picture. But God, who knows our past, present, and future, can see the way forward more clearly than we can. His guidance is not meant to control us, but rather to help us live our best, most meaningful life. This doesn't mean that we'll always receive a clear answer immediately, or that every decision will feel easy. There may still be times of waiting, of seeking, and of taking steps forward with faith, even when we're unsure. But as we walk in faith, trusting that God is with us, we can be assured that He is helping us make wise and loving choices that will ultimately lead us to where we're meant to be. And when we look back on these moments, we often find that God's hand was there all along, gently guiding us through our uncertainty, making a way for us even when we couldn't see it clearly. In life, we all encounter moments when we feel worn down and stretched thin, when our strength seems to slip away, leaving us struggling to press on. Challenges can feel heavy, and sometimes they can lead us to a place where we wonder if we have the energy or endurance to continue. But one of the greatest gifts God offers us is His strength, a strength that steps in precisely when we feel our own is insufficient. This isn't a strength that demands we push through on our own, but rather an invitation to lean on God, to allow His power to support us and carry us forward. God's strength meets us in our weakness, in those places where we feel most vulnerable. Rather than viewing our weaknesses as flaws, God sees them as openings where He can come in and work within us, transforming our struggles into sources of resilience. When we feel weak, we are reminded that we don't have to rely solely on ourselves, that we have a limitless source of strength in God, who understands our limitations and meets us where we are. This divine strength isn't just about physical endurance, it's a deeper, inner fortitude that sustains our spirit, lifts our hearts, and helps us continue with courage. Imagine facing a particularly difficult situation, whether it's a personal loss, a setback in your career, or a challenge in your relationships. On our own, these situations can feel daunting, but with God's strength, we have a new perspective. God provides the energy to persevere, the resilience to bounce back, and the courage to keep moving forward, even when the road ahead looks tough. It's as if God is saying, you don't have to face this alone. Let me walk with you, let me lift the weight off your shoulders, and let me carry you through. In those moments when we don't feel strong enough, God's presence reminds us that we are not defined by our limitations or our weaknesses. Instead, we are defined by our relationship with Him, by the strength He pours into us. We find ourselves able to endure challenges not because we have all the answers or because we are strong on our own, but because we are leaning on a source of strength that is infinite and unwavering. Through God, we learn that true strength doesn't come from denying our weaknesses, but from embracing them and allowing His strength to shine through. In life's most difficult moments, we all experience pain, loss, and times of heartache that seem almost unbearable. During these times, it's easy to feel as though we are carrying a weight too heavy for us to bear, and that the sadness we feel is overwhelming. But God offers something incredible in these moments, His comfort. God's comfort is unlike anything the world can offer. It reaches the depths of our hearts, soothing our pain, easing our sorrows, and helping us find peace, even in the midst of turmoil. When we are hurting, it can be challenging to see beyond our pain. Emotions like sadness, frustration, and anger can consume us, making us feel isolated and alone in our suffering. Yet God is present with us in our pain. He draws close to us, offering a safe place where we can lay down our burdens. He doesn't promise that life will be free from challenges or sorrow, but He does promise that He will be with us through it all. He is there to listen to our cries, to hold us when we feel broken, and to give us the gentle assurance that we are not alone. God's comfort is powerful because it meets us exactly where we are. He understands our pain, not from a distance, but intimately, knowing every tear we shed and every unspoken hurt. He invites us to bring all of it to Him, the confusion, the heartache, the fear, without holding anything back. And as we do, He wraps us in a comfort that is both tender and strong. It is the comfort of a loving Father who cares deeply about our well-being and wants to bring us relief. In moments when it feels like the pain might overwhelm us, God's comfort becomes our anchor. It doesn't always make the pain disappear instantly, but it does bring a sense of peace and calm that helps us endure and over time heal. God's comfort also reminds us that there is hope, even in the darkest moments. He has the power to bring healing and restoration, to help us find strength we didn't know we had, and to renew our spirits. His comfort is a reminder that pain is not the end of our story. There is life, hope, and light that lies beyond it. As we experience God's comfort, we find ourselves able to move forward, to carry on with a heart that is slowly being restored. And often we emerge with a new understanding, a deeper compassion, and a greater empathy for others who suffer. God's comfort doesn't just bring us through our pain, it transforms us, allowing us to heal in ways we never imagined and to help others find comfort too. One of the most beautiful aspects of God's presence in our lives is His unconditional love, a love that is limitless, unwavering, and offered freely to each of us. Unlike human love, which can sometimes be conditional or based on what we do, God's love is entirely different. It is not something we have to earn or prove ourselves worthy of. It is given to us because of who He is, not because of anything we have done. This love is deeply personal, as if it were tailored just for us, yet it is also universal, encompassing every person, no matter their past or present. God's love is unconditional, which means it is not based on our performance, accomplishments, or even our failures. He loves us on our best days and our worst, when we feel proud of ourselves and when we feel ashamed. He sees every part of us, the good, the bad, the joyful, and the broken, and loves us fully, without reservation. This kind of love may be difficult to understand because it is so different from the conditional love we may have experienced elsewhere, but it is what makes God's love so transformative and healing. When we come to truly accept this love, it begins to change how we view ourselves. We start to understand that we are loved not because we are perfect or because we have all the answers, but simply because we are His children. God's love gives us a sense of worth that is not tied to achievements or approval from others. It allows us to embrace who we are, flaws and all, and to find peace in knowing that we are cherished no matter what. This can be incredibly freeing, as it removes the pressure to be someone we're not or to constantly strive for perfection. God's love is also a steady source of comfort during times of pain or struggle. When we feel rejected, lonely, or unworthy, His love reminds us that we are never alone and that we are always valued. Even when we stumble or fall short, God's love is there, inviting us back to Him with open arms, offering forgiveness and grace. It is a love that is patient and understanding, one that never abandons us or leaves us feeling unworthy. This unconditional love also empowers us to love others in a similar way. As we experience God's boundless love for ourselves, we are encouraged to extend that same kind of love to those around us, to love people not because of what they can offer or do, but because they too are valuable in God's eyes. It gives us a new perspective, enabling us to see others with compassion and grace. God's love, therefore, becomes a guiding force that shapes our relationships, our attitudes, and our actions. Ultimately, God's love is the foundation upon which we can build our lives. It provides us with a source of security, comfort, and strength. It reminds us that no matter what we face or how far we may stray, there is always a place for us in His heart. We are loved beyond measure, and that love remains with us, constant and unchanging, through every season and every circumstance of life. God's love is truly the greatest gift, one that reassures us of our worth and fills us with the confidence to live fully and freely. In life, we all encounter seasons when the light seems dim and hope feels far away. These moments of darkness may come during times of loss, hardship, or simply when we feel disconnected and overwhelmed. When we're facing such times, it's natural to feel weighed down by despair, and we may even begin to question if things will ever improve. But one of the most powerful promises God offers us is the gift of hope. This isn't a shallow, fleeting hope. It's a deep, steadfast assurance that no matter how dark things seem, He is with us and brighter days lie ahead. God's hope is not dependent on circumstances or the shifting nature of life. Unlike optimism that simply assumes things will work out, hope in God is a firm confidence rooted in His character and His promises. It is an understanding that even if the present is difficult, there is a future full of light and possibility because of who God is. This hope reminds us that God is actively at work in our lives, even when we can't see it. It assures us that behind the scenes, He is weaving together the pieces of our journey in ways that will bring growth, healing, and purpose. In dark times, God's hope provides an anchor for our souls. It steadies us, giving us something to hold on to when everything else seems uncertain. We may not know exactly how or when our circumstances will change, but with God, we can trust that there is always reason to keep moving forward. His hope reminds us that our struggles are not permanent, that they do not define us, and that we are part of a larger story, a story in which God is constantly working for our good. This doesn't mean that we ignore our pain or pretend that everything is fine. Instead, we are invited to bring our pain to God, to let Him walk with us, and to lean on the assurance that He will bring us through to a brighter place. God's hope is also a source of strength that empowers us to persevere. When life feels overwhelming, this hope helps us find the courage to take the next step, even if it's a small one. It is a reminder that we don't need to have everything figured out right now, and that healing and change take time. In this way, God's hope allows us to be patient with ourselves and our journey, giving us the grace to move forward slowly, without fear or self-doubt. One of the beautiful things about God's hope is that it renews us, filling us with peace and joy even when our circumstances haven't changed. It helps us to look beyond what is directly in front of us and to trust that there is more to come. We can rest in the assurance that, as challenging as things may seem, this season will pass and something beautiful will emerge from it. God's hope is like a light that shines in the darkness, guiding us through difficult times and helping us to see life with new clarity. As we experience this hope, we are called to share it with others. When we have walked through dark times and seen God's light at the end, we become beacons of hope for those around us. We can comfort others with the same hope that has sustained us, offering encouragement, kindness, and a listening ear. In doing so, we participate in God's work of bringing hope and healing to the world, sharing the message that no matter how hard things may seem, there is always hope in Him. In every journey, whether it's one of personal growth, career pursuits, or relationships, we often find ourselves wondering about the purpose behind each step. Sometimes life feels like a series of unrelated events, moments that don't seem to fit together in any meaningful way. We might face setbacks that feel like dead ends, or we might question whether the challenges we encounter have any real value. However, one of the promises that comes from walking with God is the assurance that every experience, every step, whether easy or difficult, has a purpose within His larger plan for our lives. God, in His infinite wisdom, is able to see the bigger picture that we can't. He understands not only where we are now, but where we are headed, and He uses each experience to shape us in ways that are ultimately for our good. What may seem to us like a detour or a mistake can often be part of God's purposeful design, leading us to new insights, opportunities, or relationships that we never would have encountered otherwise. This gives us a different perspective on the moments that seem insignificant or even painful, knowing that they are part of a larger story, a story that is still unfolding and that has meaning beyond what we can see in the present moment. Sometimes our experiences serve to strengthen qualities within us that will be essential later in life, like patience, resilience, compassion, or faith. For example, a challenging situation at work might teach us persistence, or a season of waiting might help us develop a greater sense of trust in God's timing. Other times, our experiences help us understand and empathize with others who are going through similar struggles. God doesn't waste any part of our lives, and as we walk through both the highs and lows, He is working within us, shaping us into people who are more capable of love, courage, and kindness. This doesn't mean that every moment will be easy or that we will always understand the purpose behind what is happening. There will be times when we feel frustrated or discouraged because we cannot see the full picture. In these moments, it can be helpful to remember that God's ways are higher than our ways, and His perspective is far greater than our own. He sees how each piece of our journey fits together, even when it appears fragmented or disjointed to us. Trusting in His purpose allows us to embrace life more fully, knowing that everything we experience is contributing to the person we are becoming. Believing that there is purpose in every step also encourages us to live with intentionality. When we understand that each moment has meaning, we begin to approach our daily lives with a sense of gratitude and openness. Even routine tasks or small acts of kindness take on a new significance because we know that God can use them in ways we may never even realize. This perspective invites us to be present, to make the most of each day, and to recognize that even small steps forward are part of a purposeful journey. As we grow in faith, we also become more aware of how our lives can impact others. Sometimes our experiences, both the joyous and the challenging, allow us to be a source of encouragement and guidance for those around us. Our stories, our triumphs, and even our struggles can inspire and uplift others who are walking through similar paths. In this way, God not only brings purpose to our individual lives, but also weaves our lives together with those of others, creating a beautiful tapestry of shared hope and support. Ultimately, the belief that every step has purpose gives us hope, especially in moments of uncertainty. It reminds us that our lives are not random or without direction, but are being carefully guided by a loving God who is intimately involved in each detail. Every experience, every step forward, and even every stumble is part of a meaningful journey that leads us closer to the person we are meant to become. And as we walk this path, we can take comfort in knowing that we are never alone. God is with us, guiding each step and infusing each moment with purpose, love, and grace. One of the most comforting aspects of our relationship with God is His boundless forgiveness and grace, which are freely offered to us no matter where we are in life. As human beings, we all make mistakes, we stumble, fall short of our ideals, and sometimes hurt others or ourselves along the way. These moments of failure can weigh heavily on our hearts, filling us with guilt, shame, and regret. However, God, in His incredible compassion, doesn't hold our mistakes against us or define us by our past. Instead, he opens his arms, offering forgiveness and a fresh start each time we turn back to him. God's forgiveness is not like human forgiveness, which can be conditional or limited. He forgives us not based on anything we have done to earn it, but because of his unconditional love for us. When we bring our mistakes to God, he doesn't turn away or hold a grudge. Instead, he offers grace, an unearned, undeserved gift of mercy that wipes away our faults and allows us to begin anew. This grace is a powerful reminder that our worth in God's eyes is not based on perfection or performance. He sees our value beyond our actions, and his grace invites us to grow without being weighed down by our past missteps. This boundless forgiveness is transformative, freeing us from the burdens of guilt and shame. It allows us to release the hold that past mistakes may have on our lives, and it liberates us to pursue a brighter future. God's forgiveness helps us to understand that, while we may have made wrong choices, we are not defined by them. Instead, we are defined by his love for us and his vision of who we can become. With this understanding, we can start each day with hope, knowing that every moment offers an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to be better. God's forgiveness also encourages us to show grace to ourselves. It can be easy to dwell on our mistakes, replaying them over and over in our minds, feeling as though we can never fully move past them. But when we accept God's forgiveness, we can let go of these burdens, understanding that if God has forgiven us, we can forgive ourselves as well. His grace invites us to look forward rather than backward, and to walk forward without the weight of self-judgment holding us back. This grace is not a license to ignore our mistakes, but rather an invitation to learn from them, to grow, and to live in a way that reflects his love and mercy. Moreover, as we experience God's forgiveness in our own lives, we are called to extend that same grace and forgiveness to others. Knowing the freedom that forgiveness brings, we are better equipped to offer that gift to the people around us. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or allowing ourselves to be mistreated, but it does mean learning to release resentment and bitterness, offering others the same chance to grow and change that we ourselves have received from God. When we forgive others, we are participating in God's work of healing and reconciliation, allowing love and grace to take root in our relationships. Forgiveness and grace also help us cultivate resilience. Knowing that we can always return to God, no matter how far we may stray, gives us the courage to take risks, to pursue our dreams, and to live fully without the fear of failure. We can step forward boldly, knowing that if we stumble, God's hand is always there to help us back up. This assurance gives us strength, knowing that our journey isn't defined by a single mistake, but by a series of steps, each one leading us closer to God and to the person we are meant to become. Ultimately, God's forgiveness and grace create a foundation of love and compassion within us. As we experience his mercy, we become people who are more compassionate, understanding, and loving toward others. We begin to see others not as a collection of their mistakes, but as fellow travelers on a journey, each in need of the same grace we have received. This deep understanding transforms our relationships, our self-perception, and our view of the world, enabling us to walk through life with an open heart and a spirit of kindness. Through forgiveness, we are free to live a life that reflects God's love, and we can rest in the knowledge that no matter where we've been or what we've done, his grace is always there, welcoming us back and guiding us forward. In life, we often find ourselves standing at the edge of the unknown, facing challenges that seem insurmountable or stepping into situations where we feel completely unequipped to succeed. It's natural to feel fear and hesitation in these moments, as we question our abilities and wonder if we have what it takes to handle what lies ahead. However, one of the most reassuring promises that God gives us is his constant presence and his ability to help us overcome whatever obstacles we face. God is with us in every circumstance, walking alongside us, empowering us with his strength, wisdom, and guidance. When we face a difficult challenge, it can be easy to focus on our own limitations, our lack of experience, skills, or resources, and feel overwhelmed by the task at hand. But God doesn't expect us to face life's challenges on our own. His presence in our lives is a constant source of support, enabling us to do things that we would never be able to accomplish by our own strength. Whether it's a personal challenge, a professional setback, or a spiritual battle, God equips us with everything we need to face it. He provides us with wisdom when we don't know what to do, courage when we are afraid, and peace when everything around us feels chaotic. This doesn't mean that life's challenges will always be easy, or that we won't encounter moments of doubt or fear, but it does mean that we are never truly alone in our struggles. God's presence doesn't remove the difficulty, but it gives us the assurance that we can endure it. We are reminded that we don't have to rely on our own understanding or strength, but instead we can lean on God, trusting that He will give us what we need in the moment. The more we learn to rely on God in times of difficulty, the more we begin to experience His provision, strength, and grace in ways that build our faith. God's help is not just limited to moments of crisis or distress. It is available to us in every situation, whether we are navigating the mundane moments of daily life or taking on big, life-changing decisions. We may not always see or feel God's presence in every moment, but He is there, working behind the scenes, guiding our steps, and leading us toward the best path. This continuous presence can be a source of peace, knowing that no matter where we are or what we are facing, we are never without support. When we experience God's help, it often comes in surprising ways. Sometimes it's through the encouragement of a friend, a timely word of advice, or a sudden insight that shifts our perspective. Other times it's a quiet inner strength that rises up within us when we least expect it, enabling us to keep going when we feel like giving up. We may not always understand how God works or why He allows certain things to happen, but we can trust that His help is always there, even in ways that may not be immediately obvious. God's help also teaches us to grow in patience, humility, and trust. As we lean on Him, we begin to realize that we don't have to have all the answers or control every outcome. There is freedom in knowing that God's plan is bigger than our own, and that He will help us navigate through life's uncertainties, guiding us toward the future He has designed for us. This trust in God's ability to help us doesn't mean that we sit back and do nothing. It means that we step forward in faith, doing our part while trusting that God will do His. We realize that the challenges we face are opportunities for growth, and that through God's help we are being shaped into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. As we look back on the obstacles we've overcome with His help, we see how far we've come and how much we've learned along the way. God's faithfulness in these times builds our confidence, not just in Him, but in ourselves, knowing that we can face whatever comes next with His strength and guidance. With God by our side, we can walk through any challenge, knowing that His help will never fail us. As we journey through life, we often find ourselves grappling with feelings of uncertainty, doubt, and fear, especially when faced with unfamiliar or challenging situations. The unknown can be intimidating, and we may question whether we have the ability to face what lies ahead. In these moments, we can take great comfort in knowing that God's presence provides us with the courage to face the unknown. God doesn't promise that life will always be predictable or that we will have all the answers, but He does promise to be with us every step of the way, offering His guidance and strength when we need it most. When stepping into the unknown, it's easy to focus on all the potential risks and outcomes that could go wrong. We may fear failure, rejection, or making the wrong decision, and these fears can paralyze us. But God calls us to trust in Him, reminding us that He is in control of the future. While we cannot see what is ahead, God sees the bigger picture. His plan for us is filled with purpose. And even when we can't understand it fully, we can trust that He is leading us towards something good. Faith in God's presence provides the courage to step forward, even when we feel uncertain. Knowing that He is with us gives us the strength to keep moving forward, even when we feel afraid. God's courage is not about being free from fear, but about choosing to move forward in the face of fear, trusting that He will guide us and equip us for whatever we encounter along the way. With God, we don't have to rely on our own abilities or wisdom, but we can lean on His infinite strength and understanding. One of the most powerful aspects of walking in faith is the assurance that God is always near, even when we can't feel Him or see the way ahead. He is a constant presence, guiding us with His Holy Spirit, speaking to us through His Word, and offering peace when our hearts are anxious. This assurance allows us to embrace the unknown with a sense of peace, knowing that we are not alone. We may not know all the details of what is to come, but we know that God is present with us and will provide everything we need in each moment. In the face of the unknown, God also gives us the courage to be flexible and adaptable. Life often doesn't unfold according to our plans, and we may face detours or unexpected changes. Rather than feeling overwhelmed by the unpredictability, we can trust that God is still at work, even in the midst of uncertainty. This trust in God's sovereignty allows us to be more open to new possibilities and to embrace the changes that come with them. We can move forward with confidence, knowing that even if things don't go as expected, God's purpose for us remains unshaken. Moreover, stepping into the unknown with God by our side often leads to personal growth and transformation. As we trust Him and take steps into unfamiliar territory, we discover strengths we didn't know we had, and we develop deeper trust in His faithfulness. The challenges we face along the way become opportunities to deepen our faith, build resilience, and experience God's provision in new ways. Over time, we learn that the unknown isn't something to fear, but something to embrace as part of the beautiful unfolding journey that God has designed for us. Finally, embracing the unknown with God's courage doesn't mean we won't face difficulties, but it means that we can approach each challenge with a sense of hope and anticipation. When we trust in God's presence and His plan, the unknown becomes an adventure of faith. We step forward, not because we have all the answers or because we're free from fear, but because we know that God is with us. He will lead us through every uncertainty and help us navigate every obstacle. And as we move forward, we can hold on to the truth that He has already prepared the way, and no matter where it leads, we are exactly where we need to be with Him by our side.